Josh Heupel seemed to be even higher, given the fact they've beaten 4 ranked teams, whereas the 2 teams above them, Buckeyes and Georgia, beaten half that many. In terms of Dennis Dodd's latest power rankings, top 4 mirrors the AP poll: Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, and Michigan. Then things start to deviate just a bit. Dennis has TCU making a huge jump from 10th to 5th. Bama falls 5 places to 8th. USC also taking a tumble. They fall 5 places down to 10th. So let's welcome in Dennis to get the thought process on the rankings this week. Dennis, we have to start with the Volunteers moving up 4 spots to number 3. But first, the scenes out of Knoxville were insane on Saturday night, and you got caught in the middle of it. What was that environment like?
Just, Jeremy, just pure joy. I mean, me and 50,000 of my closest friends, and, every one of them asking to get on camera. I mean, what do you say? No, we're trying to get Jalen Hyatt. We're trying to get Josh Heupel. We're trying to get players. And they were nice about it. But there's a video out there from Josh Pate, our late kick Josh, where instead of filming the field goal, he filmed the stands, and the look on the students' faces as the ball went through the goalpost is just incredible. I would encourage people to go see that. It's out there. But I've never seen, really, again, such pure joy in one place, 15 long years, and they realized what it meant. Best thing for me, guys, no cigar burns on my closer skin.
That's always a bonus.
Dennis, did you ever make it where you were headed? We saw that video of you trying to get through the crowd. Did you ever make it to any of the players?
I did. At one point, I put my arm around my cameraman and just said, "Go," because if we got separated, we were dead.
We would never find each other again.
Yeah, and we did. So that, by the way, that's my 5th since the beginning of last year. So I need some combat pay.
Exactly. Yeah, I was talking to Jenny Dell about it too, and she was there, of course, for CBS as part of our SEC coverage, and she said it was just unbelievable, the scenes at the end. All right, let's get to the power rankings. Is there a case to be made that Tennessee could be higher, given the fact that they've now beaten 4 ranked teams, Dennis?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a stat out there regarding Ohio State. There's only 5. Ohio State is one of 5 teams that hasn't played a team in the top 25 this year. So, yeah, I think you could, absolutely. When you beat number 3, the previous number 1 in Alabama, and the way they're playing, yeah. I think the best thing about Tennessee is they know exactly who they are. I forgot to mention this on Saturday, but Tim Banks, the Tennessee defensive coordinator, he went into that game rushing literally on every passing down 5 or 6 balls. And he was going to take his lumps with Bryce Young because he knew if he sit back there and let Bryce Young pick them apart, they were dead anyway. So he might as well die by the sword and then try to wield the sword. And it worked to a degree. They only sacked him once. He threw for over 400 yards. He was fantastic, but it was just enough. And I suspect in big games and playoff games, if they get that far, that's who Tennessee's going to have to be. Their offense is elite, but their defense is suspect. They played the secondary on Saturday without Jalen McCullough, who's suspended with a felony charge. And then at the end, a walk-on going against perhaps Alabama's best receiver, Ja'Cory Brooks. And so it was amazing how they held on.
And you saw the climb there, too, on the graphic, climbing from 25th in your first top 25 power rankings all the way up to number 3 this week. Not playing a top 25 opponent this week. They welcome UT Martin, which they will, of course, be heavy favorites. All right, we have to talk about Bama as well. Their AP poll top 5 streak ends at 40 straight appearances. You drop them even further down the order, all the way to 8th. So where does Bama go from here?
Yeah, they have to reassess. Look, I don't think there's anything they can do, obviously, to get better. I have kept saying for the entire year that I was suspect about the secondary. Obviously, that was an issue on Saturday. Penalties have been a problem throughout the season. I don't know how you get better at that when coming into the game, Jeremy, they were the fourth worst in the country in average penalty yards with 72. At the end of the first quarter, they had 57 penalty yards, and I don't have to tell anybody at Alabama this, 17 penalties Saturday for 101 yards. About 5 of those, I think I counted, were illegal procedures. The crowd did affect them. There were some pass interference penalties that really hurt. So Nick Saban, who has the ultimate buttoned-up program, has a problem with discipline on the field as far as penalties go. That has to be cleaned up. I don't know how you get that cleaned up halfway through the season in time to make a championship run. Maybe he can.
Well, and that's part of it, too. It's something that's been a season-long issue. We've talked about Bama and the penalty problems before. 5 ranked-on-ranked games this week. They are involved in one, a welcoming Mississippi State. They are 21-point favorites, are the Tide going into that one. All right, TCU climbed 5 places into the top 5. Dennis, that's a big jump.
Yeah, no, I love TCU, the only undefeated team left in the Big 12. One of only 9 undefeated teams left, so why not? Why not put them up that high? But it's the way they won. It's a really inspirational story at TCU. Sonny Dykes wanted this job. There was a lot of criticism from him, from the people at SMU, that he went across town to the biggest rival. Well, this is why he went. He's got a chance to coach a top 10 program, to take a shot at a Big 12 championship, and maybe a playoff berth. And Oklahoma State had everything in its favor in the second quarter, led by 17 points. Beginning of the fourth quarter, led by 14 points. But the plucky little Horned Frogs come back, and with 1:57 left, Sonny Dykes, who's known for this sort of thing, runs a trick play with one Amari DeMarcado, who then hands off to Max Duggan, the quarterback, who throws the game-tying touchdown. And it's just inspiring. Kendre Miller scores 2 touchdowns. He was the next guy up, the tailback, next guy up when Zach Evans transferred to Ole Miss. So all Kendre Miller's doing right now, he's a junior, is the number 4 runner in the Big 12. So you talk about passing with Sonny Dykes, and Max Duggan is that guy. But maybe the best two-way dual threat in the country, but they also can run the ball.
Well, and they're part of the ranked-on-ranked program again this week. They welcome 17 Kansas State. K-State sitting as 4.5-point underdogs there. So for one team to climb, that means another must fall. And one of those falling teams was USC. They dropped 5 spots to 10th. What made them tumble so far for you, Dennis?
Well, this was going to be and was their biggest test of the season. They didn't face anybody before who was as good, and will not face anybody, with the possible exception of UCLA, who is as good the rest of the season. But to entertain those hopes of a complete turnaround of a playoff berth, I think they had to win this game, and they really gave up the ghost on Saturday night. They led 21-7. They led 14-0, 21-7, 35-28 in the fourth quarter, and then gave it up to a very inspired group of Utah Utes, who, by the way, would be higher in the rankings, except they've lost, obviously, to Florida and lost twice this year to ranked teams. So that's been tough for them. But they're in the running. They now have the tiebreaker over USC. So I guess I was a bit disappointed in USC. After being conditioned to what they've done to this point, there's going to have to be, again, some soul searching on their part defensively and offensively to get better.
Yeah, and they are off this week. They go to Arizona next week. Lastly, let's talk about Texas. They're back, Dennis. Quinn Ewers looks good, but what's their ceiling for you at this point?
I think Texas can win the Big 12. I think with Quinn Ewers, anything is possible. Bijan Robinson, again, leading the Big 12 in rushing. He's got 9 rushing touchdowns. They squeak one out against Iowa State. And since Quinn Ewers came back, they've been absolutely great. They just seem to rally around this guy. He can spin it, and maybe that's the best way to put it. If he's in the Alabama game, Texas wins that game. I don't think there's any question about that, because Texas lost by 1 point at the buzzer, or close to the buzzer. But Quinn Ewers is the difference in this team. He can carry them. They have a semblance of a defense, which is always a question in the Big 12. So I think the sky's the limit. They had Oklahoma State coming up. Oklahoma State, again, is wounded, at least emotionally. And I think if they keep winning, they can get into those top 2 spots and play for the Big 12 title.
Amanda's not liking any of what you just said, Dennis, at all. They are part of the ranked-on-ranked games this week. They go to 11, Oklahoma State, 4.5-point road favorites. Dennis, always great to see you. Glad you made it safe out of Neyland Stadium and getting back here on HQ. Breaking down the latest power rankings, which you can view in its entirety over on CBSSports.com. And for discussions about the power rankings, the latest AP poll, and the upcoming games, be sure you're listening to the Cover 3 podcast. Chip Patterson, Tom Fornelli, Barrett Salee, and others giving you all you need to know each and every week. Download and follow wherever you get your podcast audio.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.